Pinter. I see you're on. I can't say hi to everybody, by the way, so I'm not purposely leaving anybody out. I'm just looking through the list before we kick this thing off. So, Mark Pinter for Hey Vlad, are you in now?
I am it. Mic check, mic check. Turn on my camera. Oh, can you hear me?
There we go. Hey, thanks for jumping on here, Vlad. I'm sorry, I must have did something incorrect, so I don't blame people.
No,
myself.
This is not all at all. This is
coming in perfect. I can hear that great.
you sent me. Yeah, you sent me the right invite. So everybody on the call, I want to apologize. I had it for the next hour. I put it in my calendar correctly. I apologize. I'll make it up for you. So you guys.
That's all right. So he's just being nice. I screwed up. So hey, before we kick off, and by the way, we have 290 some people on the call. Hopefully, we'll get a couple more. But before I pass this over to you now, but real quick, is Rob going to be joining us today too, or we just have gracious?
It'll be
okay. All right. Well, I just want to say a couple words before I pass it over to you, Vlad. So just bear with me just a moment, and then I'll pass it over. Hopefully, we'll get a good transition. So, I just want to officially kick this off. But by the way, Vlad, before you got out, we were discussing business before you came on. It was a highly elevated conversation about growing BIFs, SNFs, the households, and so it was all serious business before you came on. So we're set to go. But for the group that's on the call right now, I want to say thank you, one, for your patience for coming on. Hopefully we entertained you a little bit. Thanks for joining the call today. To set the meeting into motion, I want to not only express that I appreciate you guys for making some time in your schedule to be on the call today, but also give you a little bit of the why Carrie and I are introducing you to the Insurance Sales Lab and Vlad. So to make a couple statements. So whether you're new to this business or if you've been in this business for many years, I believe there are many of you who might share the thought that they would like to see more success in capturing additional business for themselves, maximizing the compensation grid, and growing your agencies to a point that where you're running a business as a team rather than being a main or sole driver. To give you kind of an idea of how Vlad came into the picture, I was favorably introduced to Vlad and the Insurance Sales Lab through a high recommendation of a person I know, and he gave a high recommendation on how Vlad and the Insurance Sales Lab had completely transformed his business. He had a multi-million-dollar business. He was in a position where he felt he was struggling in an environment that's competitive, didn't feel like he could grow, was losing households, knew he needed to make a change, and reached out to Vlad for help. He went from losing clients to growing clients at premium by a significant margin by implementing what he learned from the Insurance Sales Lab with Vlad's help. If what you're doing is not growing your business to the level that you want or would like, I personally believe that's within your control. That might require you to change your mindset. And we're not going to be asking you to change the things that bring you business. With this meeting, we're just wanting to introduce you to additional resources that are out there that might help you get to where you should be. And I said it in the invite. I believe you're going to be interested in Vlad's story, learning about the Insurance Sales Lab. I introduced him, letting you guys know that he's a top producing, him and his partner are a top producing captive agency owner. They write over $1 million of P&C premium a month. He's built his team. Rob and Vlad have built a team to 20 sales professionals, producers that they require to write over $60,000 in premium a month in P&C premium per producer. And I mentioned that he can help you do that same thing as well. My hope is that as we as you're finishing out this year, planning for 2026, but also looking at your long-term business goals, that you might find some inspiration today, make any necessary changes to your business model to help you reach them. And lastly, before I pass this over to Vlad, I wanted to make a couple of statements. One is I believe that good or bad, your current state is largely impacted by the decisions that you make, that you have control over. And the last comment is we're only limited by the commitments and investments that we make to and in ourselves. And with that, that's how I wanted to set the stage for this conversation today with Vlad. If you can share, you can put your questions if you have questions in the chat. We'll save any comments to the end of this presentation. I just want to make sure that your ears are open and you're listening to Vlad as we kind of work through this. And I might pipe in, Vlad, if you don't mind it, but I want you to comment on something. But for that, Vlad, please take it over.
Yeah. I'm looking through the chat right here. You guys were all business right before I hopped on. I love that. Okay, can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So the title of today's training, and Joe, thank you for that introduction, is how every insurance agency can write 100,000 P&C premium per month. And the important thing here is to have that premium be written without you as an agency owner doing the selling and servicing. There's a way that an insurance agency can be ran profitably where the agency owner, is not the one who's all the selling and all the servicing. And it's not something that can be done overnight. There's steps involved. And my goal today is to show you what you can do today to write 100,000 in P&C premium in the next few months. And then once you get to 100,000 in P&C premium, how do you get to that next level of 250 and 500 and eventually $1 million or more? For those who don't know anything about our agency, Joe has done a great job with a quick intro. We have an agency of 20 sales producers. We have 8 people on the service team, 5 SDRs. These are people who work in our office. They make outbound calls. They get leads on the phone transferred over to our sales agents. We have 14 leads, and our agency does 1.2 billion in P&C premium per month. This is a picture of our team. As you can see, we all work in person. We have a few people that work remote, but generally we all work in person. And this is a screenshot from a few months ago. This is our best month that we had. And what you're looking 3, 4, 5, all the way through 20. And then how much premium was written. So you can see one producer did 123,000 in premium as one producer. The next one, 116, 108, 103, 102. These are individual producers. What hours do you think they work, Joe? And everybody else in the chat, how many hours a day do you think they work to be able to write 100,000 in premium?
I would assume at least 8.
They work 8 to 5, maybe 8 to 6. They don't work Saturdays. They don't work Sundays. Yes, they stay maybe for an extra hour after 5. Occasionally, somebody will pop in on a Saturday, put in a couple of hours. But generally speaking, our producers are able to do that in the 40-hour work schedule. And I'll unpack how that goes here in a moment. A producer did 80,000, another one 75, 67, all the way up to 60. So everybody orange here and above did 60,000 or more. And then we had a few people who did between 40 and 60, and then a few people who fell short of that for various reasons. But ultimately, what we look at is not just how much premium was written, but what was the activity behind that. So we look at new conversations, we look at close rates, we look at policies per household. That activity leads to that result. We write business in Texas, and you might say, well, your premium must be really high. Well, let's take a look at that. This is the same month looked at differently. We have agent number 1, and this is the producer did 123,000 in premium. What was his average premium per household? Somebody tell me what his average premium per household was for that top producer. That's right. Was 3,000. Yeah, 3,024. And if you look at the next few producers, we're all around 3,000 in premium. And then a few people at 26, 23, all the way down to the bottom. We have one producer who is doing 1,800 in premium. That's because of a certain situation that I'm not going to get into right now, but 2,900 was our average premium. 2,900. So wherever you may be, think about what your average premium per household is. This includes the home, this includes the auto together. That's what we consider one household. We do our absolute best to bundle home and auto as often as possible. But even today, farmers in Texas, and we write in a few other states, but mainly in Texas, farmers is not very competitive on auto rates. And on home insurance, we're not competitive compared to other carriers. For example, I'm going to turn this off just for a quick second so that is my screen no longer sharing? Joe, it's no longer sharing.
Yeah,
right. So I just want to make this point clear. In our state of Texas, there are a lot of other carriers, big carriers, State Farm, all states, where they offer a lower deductible than what we offer, meaning that somebody can call up State Farm, they can call up Allstate, and they can get a 1% deductible on wind and hail on their home. We can't do that. So we have some restrictions from that standpoint. We can only do it 2% or higher. So when people hear 2% from us, a lot of times they say, well, I'm going to go with Allstate then. I'm going to go with State Farm. Yet we're still able to close the amount of business that we're closing. Also, if a home is worth over 625 for their coverage A, which in Texas, a lot of homes are worth over 625, guess what? We can't help them. We have to do a really high deductible, or we won't be able to help them at all. Homes over $1 million automatically decline. There's so much people that we talk to on a daily basis that we simply cannot help. Despite those challenges, our team is still able to write a lot of business because they just disqualify the people they can't help and they move on to the next person. And I just want to take one step back and tell you guys that 3 years ago, we opened up our agency. We had 0 team members and nobody on our team 3 years ago. And we grew this quickly. And I had my business partner, my brother Mike, move with me. And then Rob joined us afterwards. But when we moved from Washington State to Texas, I told my wife, we had 2 kids at that time, now we have 3. I said, hey, my goal is to go to Texas and open up an agency and be the #1 performing agency in the nation. We want to do $1 million premium per month. And she said, okay. And she's not in the industry. She doesn't really know the insurance industry. She said, is that possible? Have others done it? I said, I don't think so. I don't think anybody has done that before, but I think if we hire a lot of the right people, give them a good sales script, because I come from being a producer in an insurance agency. I was writing over 100 policies per month myself as one producer. I felt like I could probably train sales producers to do what I did as a producer. And she said, okay, so our entire family, church, we have a lot of, I have siblings, she has siblings. Everybody lives in Washington State. And we're going to uproot and move to Texas. She was supportive of that. We moved to Texas. And our first 6 months were an absolute catastrophe. And catastrophe in a way that the expectations that we had were not met, not even close to being met. We hired great team members. There's a lot more that we needed to do for our producers to make sure that they could write as much business as I wanted them to write. And I won't get into too much detail on today's call, but I'll give you the high points. Then at a later time, I can go to the nitty gritty. There were changes that we made between month 10 through 12. So as we were finishing our first year, that helped us write a lot more new business. And then we continued to make more and more changes. And that's when we became very profitable. And every producer in our agency started doing over 40,000 in premium. So from that point on, starting our second year, our expectation for all of our producers was that 40,000 premium is the minimum. If you can't do that, you can't be with us. And just about everybody that we hire does 40,000 in their first month, and they don't look back, because When they write over 40,000, that's when they start hitting their higher commission tiers. And a lot of team members do over 60,000 and beyond. So that's the quick backstory. And what I like doing is I don't like taking this information of our success and what we're doing in our agency, keeping it just to us. We like sharing that with agency owners. Are we back at slides, Joe? Can we see the slides? Okay. So I have a company called Insurance Sales Lab. And what we do is we help insurance agency owners run high producing, but more importantly, profitable agencies. We need agency owners to be profitable. We teach sales staff how to sell and service. And agency owners, we teach how to run the business. And we're going to cover that right now in today's call, the business aspect, how to find people, how to onboard them, how to train them, how to set up the right phone system, CRM, the automation, all of that we teach to business owners. Okay, so today we're going to cover 4 items. I think our business, the insurance business, is quite simple if you can understand these 4 items. The first one is financial break-even. The second one is fundamentals. The third one is technology. The fourth one is marketing. Let's jump into financial break-even. This, if you're taking notes, is the first writer downer. The goal when you hire producers is to have every producer generate enough revenue each month to cover their salary, commission, and marketing spend. In other words, if I hire somebody today and they write, say, 40,000 in premium, I want them to write enough premium where whatever they write and I get paid from my carrier, that revenue should be able to pay for their base, commission, and marketing spend. That's the goal. That's how we break even. And then that person doesn't cost me money. The sales agent doesn't cost me money. In 6 months, when I get the auto renewals, or in a year when I get the home renewals, that's when I start profit. But initially, we do not really expect to make a profit on team members. So I should also mention, going back to the previous slides, that I personally don't do any selling or servicing today because we have team members that do that. For those who don't have team members, you're going to have to do all the selling yourself initially. That's what you probably do. But as you bring on team members, the goal is to teach them everything you know so that eventually you can back off and be an owner, not just a producer. Okay. On the screen here, I have a calculator that I ran some basic numbers through. Joe, if you don't mind, we'll do this exercise together. How much auto premium does it show that the producer wrote over here?
20,000.
And then same with homeowners insurance. So our total premium is 40,000. Yeah, so 40,000 premium is what we would expect a producer to write. And the way that we arrive at 40,000 premium is we take one household, and I want to ask the chat here, everybody else on the call, how much is one household worth to you in terms of premium? When you write one home and auto, how much is that in premium? Can you let me know? Okay, Brandy says 10,000. One home and one auto together. I'm seeing 5,000. I'm seeing 3,500. That's one home and one auto. Well, let's assume the worst case scenario. A small deal, $2,000 in premium for one deal. You guys with me on that? 2,000 premium times 20 business days. There's 20 days in a month. That's how we arrive at 40,000 premium. For those of you who are in higher premium states, that you can do 40,000 with less than 20 deals. But in our agency, what we shoot for is one sale per day. At 2,000 per sale, that ends up being 40,000 in premium. Now, the producer, when we hire them, we agree that we pay them 6% commission on the premium. So they wrote 40,000 in premium, we pay them 6% commission. And then we pay the producer a base of 2,500. We pay payroll tax of 8%. And then when you guys with Country Financial sell a certain amount of premium, you can max out certain bonuses where you can make up to 50% for auto, 50% on home. That's not your base, but you can earn up to that. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. And then you get your renewals for auto and home, and then your retention. That doesn't matter right now. We click calculate. This is what we get as a result. So again, premium written, Joe, is how much?
40,000.
40,000. How much revenue do we get from that? How much does Country Financial pay us for that 40,000?
That's what we're on the grid, but based on this 6,000.
6,000. Yep. So assuming that 50% is our commission on home and auto, so 6,000. Now we have to factor in the payroll expense for that producer. If the team member gets paid $2,500 base plus 2,400 plus payroll tax, total expenses 5,292. So your net profit is $708. What this illustrates is that after paying the producer, you can still make a profit. And that's the beauty of this business, is that if you take the top tier commission that you can earn with the bonuses, you can have your producers pay for themselves. The goal there is to get them to 40,000 in premium. Okay, so that's the first thing, is we have to know what our break-even point is. And if you have one person doing 40,000 and they don't cost you money, you can hire a second person, a third person, a fourth person. That's what we did. I'm just telling you guys how we look at our business. Is we bring on people, and as long as they write 40,000, they don't cost us money, then we bring on as many people as we can, as long as they fit our culture. In the chat, let me know, has this been helpful so far, just to see one simple respect? And at later times, we can do more calls, and guests can come visit us, and we can dive into the numbers in more details. But here's the next thing I want to cover. We call this the 3 daily fundamentals. When somebody reaches out to us, they say, okay, how do I do 40,000 premium? Or a better question is, how do I close one deal a day? If I came to you and I asked you this question in the chat, please let me know, what advice would you give me if I said, how do I write 40,000 in premium? What would you say? Seriously, think about this question. If I came to you and I said, hey, I'd love to work in your agency, but how do I write 40,000 in premium? Can you help me out? What do you see there, Joe?
A lot of generic stuff like 20 calls a day, talk to people, activity, ask for referrals.
I think somebody is unmuted. Let's see if we can find that person.
I'll follow up.
So let's check this out, maybe. It's number.
Oh,
we got her shut down.
Oh, all right, cool. Always love it when that happens. So there's a lot of great comments that were made here in the chats, and they're all directionally correct, but it's not a recipe. When I ask you, how do I bake a cake? How do I make lasagna? You don't just say, well, throw some good ingredients together and you'll get lasagna. You'll give me the ingredients, and then you're going to walk me through step by step how to put those ingredients together. That is how we get a predictable outcome. With sales, it's the same thing. We have to have a recipe. So here's what we do in our agency. We have something called the 3 daily fundamentals. And this is how we answer this question of how do I consistently write 40,000 in P&C premium. Write this down if you guys are taking notes. The first fundamental is have 4 new conversations per day, or 80 for the month. Have 4 new conversations per day, but more importantly, 80 for the month. This is what we define as a new conversation. Joe and I get on the phone. Hey, Joe, this is Vlad with Country Financial. How are you? He answers. He says, hey, Vlad, I'm kind of busy right now. Why don't you give me a call back later? If that's where the conversation ends, that's not a conversation. The only thing that we count as an actual conversation is if Joe and I can talk for at least 10 minutes and I can go through his home and auto insurance. Once we pass that 10-minute time threshold, that's when it becomes a new conversation. Did you guys catch that? 10-minute threshold is what you have to pass for it to count as a new conversation. And you want to have 4 of those. Why 4? Well, we know that we're not going to be able to help everybody. We know that we're not going to have a 50% close rates. But if I talk to 4 people and I close 1 of them, that's my 1 sale. So I need to win just 1 out of 4 times for me to make this worthwhile. I like to use the analogy of baseball. You know, it's happening right now. The best of the best, Hall of Famers. What did they bat? They bat 300%, or they fail 66% of the time. Put differently, they succeed 1/3 of the time. Yet they're the best of the best to ever do it. In sales, it's very similar. You just got to pick 1 out of 4 times, and that'll make it worthwhile. So, Forrest, love your comment. I'm a Mariner fan too, all right? So 4 new conversations is the first fundamental. The second fundamental is 6-step script, so 1 call close. Every one of our producers has this on their workstation. Anybody want to take a guess as to what this is? This is our 6-step script, so 1 call close. I can have a producer go through this script and watch the videos that go with it, and they could take any internet lead, whether it's home or auto or an inbound call, and go through the opening, which is what we call the hook, go through building value, which is explaining how home insurance or auto insurance works, then go to cross-selling the other line of business or multi-lining the other line of business, so we're bundling home and auto. And then we go to cost presentation. Cost presentation is where we present the price for the first time, then asking for the sale, where we collect payment information. And if there's an objection, there's scripting on how to overcome any of the objections. And once we close the sale, we set up an onboarding meeting. An onboarding meeting is 1 more appointment with the client just to make sure that we can set up their online app, get them to sign the documents, and ask for a referral once again. We tell them, Joe, if you follow this script, you don't need to be a robot. You just have to follow the framework of the script. You will close a lot of business. If you don't follow a script, then you probably won't close as much business as you possibly could. There are agency owners that have gone through a gazillion different trainings, and then they go through the training on this sales process and they double their sales. They change nothing. They don't hire more people. They don't buy more leads. They just go to the sales script training and they double their sales. So this script is really powerful, and I don't want to sound boastful at all, but when I was a producer 11 years ago, I started with State Farm. I was not given a script. I was fortunate enough for my agency owner. He gave me a lot of old leads, people who asked for a quote 6 months ago or a year ago. Do you guys have those leads? Let me know in the chat. Do you guys have old leads in your database that you quoted a while back, but you couldn't help them back then? Do you guys have those leads? Bridget has some leads, Jim. You guys all have old leads. So my agency owner said, well, Vlad, if you want to be an agency owner one day, you have to find a way to close business. I'm not going to help. So I said, all right, I'll figure this out. I started calling old leads. When I called old leads, I realized very quickly that I needed a script. I needed some sort of structure with these calls. And I developed that script. And by my 6th month as a producer, I wrote 100 policies. By my 9th month as a producer, I wrote 150 policies. That's where this script really came from, is just by trial and error. And when I started getting agency owners, team members reaching out to me saying, hey, we're seeing your numbers on the company leaderboards. What are you doing? I said, well, I started teaching it to agency owners. First, there was one little class that we had in Portland, then we had another class in LA and in Seattle. And I started traveling all across the country, teaching agency owners this script. And people started saying, whoa, we didn't change anything in our agency. We have the same people. We have the same leads. We just started using our old leads that we have in our database, and we started closing a lot of business, 100,000, 200,000 a month in P&C premium. Not a year, 100, 200,000 a month in P&C premium. And that's where it clicked in my mind that, okay, maybe this script is a lot more powerful than I thought. And I started refining it and making it so perfect to where now it can go into any country financial agency or any farmer's agency, and it'll work just perfectly. So going back to the fundamentals, you can't just talk to a lot of people. You have to talk to them in a very specific way. Not to overdo the baseball analogy, but if I pick up a baseball bat and I try to hit any of the balls that are coming at me, I'll strike out every time because I'm not as well trained as a professional one. So the script is the training, quote unquote, on how to talk to these people. Okay. Now, the third part here is follow up with the quoted leads. I'm going to give you guys a quick example just so that everybody follows along here. If Joe is my prospect and I talked to him today and I gave him the price for the home and the auto, Joe, give me an objection. Any objection?
I don't know if I'm ready to move forward today.
Okay, so he tells me that and I say, okay, no problem. Let me email you the quotes. I ask him to pull up the quote. He looks at it, we review it, and then I'll ask, now, do you like the coverage on the auto that we've gone over today? Joe, do you like the coverage on the auto that we've gone over today?
Yeah, it looks like it fits
Cool.
what I'm doing. I just don't know if I'm ready.
Okay, and then I'll do the same thing for the home. You like the coverage for the home? Okay, awesome, no problem. Do you like the price that we're offering? And let's just say, he says, Vlad, I just figured to be shopping around. I want to make sure that I'm getting the best price possible. Okay.
I'm going to keep shopping.
Yeah, I want to keep shopping. Let's say I cannot close that deal today. He likes my price, he likes the coverage, but he's just not ready to move forward today. You guys know who I'm talking about, right? Those kind of prospects. Well, when that happens, what we do in our agency, and I'm only telling you what we do in our agency and what other top agencies are doing, we schedule this lead, this hot lead, for us to follow up with this lead for 5 days. How many days? 5 days. So that we can call, text, and email this hot lead for 5 days. And what we want to do is make sure that we're not waiting for Joe to call me. I need to be the one who reaches out to him for 5 days. And after 5 days, we can schedule a future follow-up around his renewal if he doesn't pick up. But it's by following these fundamentals that we get our team members to close one deal a day. So let me quickly recap. The way that we close one deal a day, at least, is by having our producers have 4 new conversations. They use our script and they follow up with the quoted leads. If you have your producers do that, and if you do that as an agency owner, you will close one deal a day. And let me show you guys this picture over here. This was earlier this year. We were hosting a workshop here in my office in Dallas, Texas. There's a group of agents. That's me right here. And there was this agent right over here. He's sitting right there. And we're chatting. And he's saying, well, in our agency, we track quotes, we track calls, we track talk time. And I said, well, that's good that you guys are tracking something. But the problem with that is that somebody can have 200 calls in a day, but not talk to anybody, right? He says, yeah, somebody can have 10 quotes a day, but not talk to anybody or not have any fruitful conversations, right? Yeah, somebody can be on the phone for 3 hours a day and not have any productive sales conversations. Is that possible? Yeah, that's possible. So those metrics that a lot of other agents track are not directly correlated to closing more new business. What does directly correlate to more new business is these 3 fundamentals. And we went over how to track that. And this agent right over here, this guy right here in the blue shirt, if you guys can see him, he's sitting there, he's to the right, and he's like, oh, this makes sense. I was tracking all the wrong stuff. He creates this little picture and he posts it on somewhere on the wall where it says success. You got to do 3 things. Follow up to the script and 4 new conversations. It's a 3-legged stool. If you take any one of these 3 things off, then you're not going to have 4 new conversations, or you're not going to have close one deal again. So he calls me up a few months later, this guy Trent, and he says, hey, I got to tell you something. Last year, 2024, we were averaging $83,000 a month as an agency. This year, without adding staff, without changing our leads, but just by following the fundamentals, here's what we've experienced so far. He says the first month when I came back after learning 3 fundamentals, our agency doubled the production. We did $158,000 in 1 month. In March, $178,000. In April, 204. And then at the time that we were talking, he was trending for 254,000. This is an example, and the reason I'm sharing this is an agency owner more than doubled his production, not by hiring more staff, not by buying more leads, not by changing anything. He just started focusing, hyper-focusing with himself and his staff. 4 conversations a day. Every time you talk to someone, use the script, and when you don't close them, follow up with 5 days. That easy. Don't overcomplicate it. That's all you do. And that's what resulted in their doubling of production. So that said, I'd be happy to answer more questions later on this, but let's go to the technology because this is really important. Technology is what puts all of the pieces together for us. And I don't want to complicate anything here for anybody. We use something called Agency Zoom for our CRM. Agency Zoom is a CRM. It costs about $200 per month. And what it does, and I know Country Financial is going to come out with your own version here very soon. That's going to work in addition to having your own Agency Zoom account. What we're looking at here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stages. Do you guys see the 7 stages here? The 7 stages, okay. So when new leads go into the system, here, let me do this instead. Let me show you guys our, not a screenshot, but our real accounts for one of our producers. Here we go. So this is what this looks like. So Agency Zoom, this is our real account. One of our producers, and all the leads that come in that are new, they get put over here. So you can see here he has 3 leads. And when you click over here on one of the leads, you can see all the conversation notes that he's had. And when we buy a lead, it goes straight into here. So this lead came in just a couple of hours ago. October 22nd, it came into our system. He got them on the phone. It looks like he's already sent them the quotes. And here's some conversation notes over here. So, and this is what happens when somebody closes a sale. You guys see that little thing pop up? This shows Paulette just closed a sale. That's the cool thing, is that everybody gets to see the sales that come through. When we have a conversation with somebody, you would move it to quote email or contacted, quote it over the phone, pre-bind. There's different stages that somebody can go to, but this allows us to be very organized, and it'll help you know what to do with the different leads. And then it also has this dashboard over here that shows how much premium was written by the agency. So yesterday is when our month started. We've done 102,000 in premium. So far, we've done 23,000. So our producers use this system to organize leads, but it also gives us the data on how the team is doing from a sales standpoint. So to recap, when a new lead gets purchased from Smart Financial, from EverQuote, from Quote Wizard, any one of these vendors, the leads go straight into here. They do not get emailed to us. They go straight into this CRM. Then we call them, and then we advance them in the pipeline. Okay. Yeah, I see some questions pop up here. Is this compliant with Country Financial? You guys will talk to Joe about this, but from what I understand, I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes here, but Country Financial is going through a pivot, from what I understand as an outsider looking in it, that people like Joe, people like Chris Pacey are saying, you know what, we want to have our agency owners produce at the highest level possible. We want our agency owners to make as much money as possible. And we're going to work with corporate. We're going to work with the compliance team to make sure that tools like this get approved and agents don't get in trouble when agents use them. And from what I understand, already some of the Country Financial agents have used these tools, and they're experiencing great results because they're a lot more organized with these leads. Final point here, final points. If I talk to Joe today and I can't help him, what do I do with that lead? This system allows us to set up a follow-up for a year from now or 6 months from now. So in 6 months or a year, when the renewal happens, that lead will come right over here where it says repos. this becomes a new opportunity for me in a year. And the beauty here is that I don't have to pay that lead again. I already paid for it a year ago. So it's something that comes back as another opportunity. And as years go by, you have thousands of leads that get put back in your requotes stage. And that's where you don't have to buy leads anymore because you have so many of them from before. I know somebody who's now with Country Financial that was writing over 100,000 in premium as a farmer's agent. And you know what his marketing budget was? Close to zero, because he bought a bunch of leads over the years, and then those leads he kept working, and then after a few years, he didn't have to buy any more leads. I saw a question: what's the difference between pre-buying this folio and next folio? So we call it a folio here with our company. So if Joe gives me his payment information, he says, "Why I don't close on my house until November 20th for us next month," I would put him over here so I don't buy the policy until November 20th. If he says, "Hey, charge my card this Friday, that's when I get paid, but don't charge me today," I would put him in pre-buy this folio. That way, it's not yet a sale. I have his payment information, but it's not yet a sale. So that's what it looks like. How do you divide leads? Here's the beauty, Michelle. If you have 3 producers in your agency and you buy, say, 10 leads a day, you can set up your system to where it round robins the leads. So producer 1 gets a lead, producer 2. That's one way to do it. There's also another option called Shark Tank. That's what we use. But there's several options on how to do that. So Agency Zoom, powerful CRM. Highly recommend that you do that. You'll make a lot more money just by using this CRM. Now, marketing, that's the 4th and final thing that I want to cover with you guys. I saw this question come up. Where are the leads coming from? Where do you guys buy leads? Or where do you get these conversations? Well, marketing, quite simple. Let me just put it to you this way. When we reach out to the different vendors, there's Smart Financial, EverQuote, Quote Wizard, when you call them, if I'm an agent in Colorado and I call Quote Wizard and I'm a farmer's agent, I will call Quote Wizard and I'll say, "Hey, I want to buy your homeowner's leads. How much do you think I have to pay for homeowner leads in Colorado? Can somebody take a guess and put it in the chat, please?" If I'm a farmer's agent, not a Country Financial, but a farmer's agent, I reach out to Quote Wizard and I say, "Hey, I'd like to buy homeowner leads. How much is this going to cost me?" They're going to say $15 to $20, maybe even more. Why? Because they only have 200 leads a day that they can sell, but they also have 100 agents, all who are wanting to buy those same leads. So we end up, it's a bidding system, it's an auction. We end up outbidding each other. And what ends up happening is that we drive the price up. How many Country Financial agents do you think there are in Colorado buying Quote Wizard leads, Quote Wizard home leads? Anybody want to take a guess? I'm just using Colorado because I believe there's some agents from Colorado here. How many agents in Colorado who are with Country Financial are buying leads? Very few. So, very few, if any. So if the 100 people who are on this call, if you guys have an advantage here, because you guys can reach out to these different vendors and say, "Hey, I'm with Country Financial. I'd like to buy homeowner internet leads, and I want to pay the least amount possible." Because you don't have as much competition amongst other agents who are buying the same leads, your price per lead is going to be much lower than farmers agents or state farm agents. So here's what I would say. You could probably get home leads for as little as $5. And if you buy 20 leads and you close 5% of those leads, in other words, 1 out of 20, you'll close 1 deal per day. So let me say this again. You buy 20 leads in 1 day for $5 each, and you close only 5% of them, you would close 1 deal a day. Now, how does this translate to to real dollars. Well, if you buy 20 leads, that's $100 marketing spend. You close 1 out of 20 leads, your client acquisition cost is $100. So per day, you spend $100. Every day you spend $100, you send that to the lead vendor. But how does this translate to revenue? Well, premium per household, let's take a look at that here. I'm going to fill this out with you guys together. So premium per household, what's your guys' average premium per household? You guys have already said that. Let's say it's $3,000 is your average premium per household. If your commission rates, we're going to keep this conservative and say just 10%. Is that fair, Joe?
Fair.
Okay. So 3,000 premium is one household. You're making 10%, which, by the way, once you guys start selling a lot more premium, 10% will be on the low end. You guys will max out a lot more than 10% of the sales. So your revenue is $300 per sale, because 10% of 3,000 is 300. Okay. Now, if we made $300 from that sale and we spent $100 to acquire it, what's our profit? In the chat, let me know, what is my profit? What is 300 minus 100? 200 bucks. And you guys might be watching this and saying, well, no, something doesn't smell right here. This doesn't work in this way. Well, I'll put it to you this way. There are a lot of skeptics in Dallas, Texas, who say the same exact thing, who are with the same company that we're with. They say leads don't work. You can't grow an agency profitably with leads. And you know what? I have no problem with them feeling that way. They can think that all they want, and I'll just buy all the leads. Because I know that when we work our leads, we close them at a decent percentage, and they stay with us for a long time. Here's a pro tip for everybody. Buy whole leads, not auto leads if you can. And the reason for that is because homeowner internet leads, you talk to the home first, but you can always cross-sell the auto. And the average premium per sale or average premium per household is higher. So the important thing to keep in mind is that there's always going to be skeptics who say, this isn't going to work for me. And those people you kind of want in your space because they're not going to be your competition. But when you reach out to the different vendors, and I highly encourage you guys to negotiate with these lead vendors and say, excuse me, you want $12 for a lead? Well, can you do $5? Give me a home lead that is $5. And a lot of times they'll say, well, you're not going to get a lot of volume. You're not going to get a lot of leads. You say, that's okay. I just want to see how many leads we can get. Reach out to not just one, not just two, but several lead vendors, and they will help make sure that all the leads that you buy are connected to your agency Zoom accounts. These lead vendors are smart. They work with agents all the time. They'll help you integrate all the leads with agency Zoom. So both agency Zoom and the lead vendors talk to each other. Okay, and let's just take a very bad case scenario. Let's say your leads are $10 a lead times 20. Your client acquisition cost is going to be not 100, but it's now $200. Okay, if our lead cost goes from $5 to $10, our client acquisition cost is now $200. Well, even then, if your leads cost more, you're still making a profit because your revenue from the sale is $300. This is such a fun game for agency owners to understand this very basic math, because as long as you can do this with your agency and you can break even in your marketing, then you can outspend everybody. You can outperform everybody. And then you might not make a whole lot of profit today, but you know what's happening? You earn a higher commission because you max out the grid. And then your renewals kick in 6 months, a year later, and that's when you start experiencing a major increase in your profits. That's when you start getting paid real money from country on your renewals. a lot of agents in that country are leaving so much money on the table right now because you're not maxing out the rate. You're not getting full 15%. You have a big book of business that you can be paid, you could get paid so much more on it, but because you're not writing enough new business premium, you're not maxing out your renewals. So to summarize this, the marketing that you do today is not intended for you to close as much business as possible today so you can make the maximal profit today. No, it's to show the country financial that you're growing, and the country will increase your compensation plan, and then you start making more for renewals. Okay. That said, the 4 items that we covered today: financial break even, that's 40K, is what every producer needs to write. And if you don't have producers, then it's on you. You have to write 40,000 in premium. Daily fundamentals, we went through those. Technology, we covered that. Marketing. For those of you who are not yet members of Insurance Sales Lab, Joe, if it's okay with you, I'll just take 2 minutes to show people the inside of the platform. You guys can sign up for this today. It's called Insurance Sales Lab, and I'll put this also in the chat so that you guys can look at it as well. Everybody's going to ask, what's the price of that? Okay, the price is laughably low. We keep it very simple. So our pricing is right here. ISL standard is $200 per month. It's month to month, no contract, which, yes, it means that you as an owner have to invest money into your business to grow. That's part of how we grow as agency owners. I spend a lot of money into training so I can better learn from other people who know something that I don't know. You guys should do the same thing. It's $200 a month is nothing in the grand scheme of things to learn everything that we do in our agency. And what we teach in our training is the One Call Close Masterclass, business management training. We have live coaching calls, interactive role play sessions, service training, and then also hiring training. So let me show you the inside of what it looks like. Bridget, your question is the $200 for every sales producer or for the agency? It's only $200 for the entire agency. So if you have a few producers, it's still $200. And as your team grows, your price does not change. It stays at $200. Now, we can't have Bridget and Paul, both of you guys, buy the program together. Every agency owner needs to have their own accounts. So let me sign in here and I'll show you what this looks like on the inside. First place we're going to go to is right here where it says Personal Lines P&C. Right over here, we can click on One Call Close Masterclass. This is our sales training that our team members go through, as well as countless of agents around the country have gone through this with their staff, where we go through our entire sales process step by step. First of all, you go over here, you download the workbook, and you get this entire script. You can print it, put it on your desk. And what we teach here is, first of all, the 3 fundamentals that we talked about earlier. We go into more detail, go through the hook. When you buy auto leads, when you buy home leads, what exactly do you say? Can I play the video, see if the audio is coming through?
We can see it. I'm not sure if it will or not, but let's try it.
Is the audio coming through?
It's not going to come through.
Once you're past the hook, what if there is an opening objection? If somebody says, I'm really busy, or I request a quote, I'm not interested. We have scripting on how to overcome all of these objections. How to explain home insurance, how to explain renters, umbrella, cost presentation, asking for the sale, closing objections. What to do after you close the sale with hosting and onboarding appointments. Everything that we do in our agency, we teach them here in this masterclass. And it takes about a day, day and a half for people to complete. Now, that's just on the P&C side. And then we also have training for life and commercial. That's something that we're not going to get into right now. But what day is it today, folks? What day? Wednesday. So we have Wednesday workshops. In fact, it's happening. It was happening right now, just ended. But every day between 1 and 2, we have a call where we listen to a call recording. We pick apart what went well, what could have gone better, and then we upload those call recordings over here. You can see the calls from before. So you can see real call recordings of producers who did either well or could have done much better. And finally, Finally, what we also include is guided role play sessions. Every single morning, we get on a Zoom call from 8:40 to 8:40 to 9. This is 20 minutes, and we host a live 20-minute role play session where you guys can join, watch us role play. And if you can't attend that role play, we have some pre-recorded role play sessions as well. So all of this is included in our Insurance Sales Lab platform. If you go to insurancesaleslab.com, you can just click get started and sign up. And the final thing I'll show, because I believe everybody's here is an agency owner. If you click right here, business management, agency owner training, we have a lot of training on business owner training. So how to hire 8 players. This is something we did a training on yesterday. We go over sales interview questions, the job post, compensation plans, how to be an effective sales lead, how to work internet leads successfully. There's a lot of different trainings that we have in here for agency owners. So it's something that I would highly encourage that you guys look into. With that, Joe, that's a wrap on my end. I did see some questions. Would you like me to answer any of them?
I think that honestly, we can see if you want to answer a couple of them there, but I just want to put out, now that we're close to the end of this, my main goal with today was more of an introduction to, I want people to be introduced not only to you, the success of your agency, that it's real, that verifiable because the people I know that are with you, that have gone, that have worked with your system in very similar environments, challenging environments where you're not writing everybody. I believe that, I don't know if it was said, you might have said, I might have been a little distracted, but one thing that was impressive to me is, so one thing I'll put out there is some people might in this group might go, oh, yeah, and you mentioned before, oh, rates might be great out in Texas or whatnot. And one of the things that was impressive to me is the understanding that challenges everywhere. And one item that Vlad brought up to me before was they went through a period of time, and they might still be going through it, where you couldn't write monoline business.
Right.
That your auto insurance business is not really competitive.
Right.
And so the thing I would want people to not, some people are going to naturally gravitate to, well, it must be really easy over in Texas. So we got to get that kind of thinking out of our minds. The thing I wanted to be introduced to is that for those people that don't know what to do, if they buy leads or go into marketing, whether that be purchasing leads for homes, autos, commercial, whatever that is, or doing direct mail marketing, like some of our people are trying and attempting and getting business in the door, most people don't have systems in place. Most people don't actually have written out talk tracks. Most people don't have training available that they even train their staff what to do. The thing that I appreciate about what I've learned about Vlad and the Insurance Sales Lab is that if you're looking to hire, and maybe you're not going to jump into ideal trades, someone like Vlad has experience in hiring not just the 20, because he's got to filter through people to get to 20. He helps people to, how do you recruit properly if you're using Indeed and whatnot. He goes into those, he's got that baked out. The other thing that I learned from Vlad, which I don't think was discussed today, was with the Insurance Lab, when he's running his agency, one of the things I liked hearing was he doesn't just train his producers, he hires them and sets them down and trains them. He also requires them to train back, to go over what they train him back on what they learned. And so that's the level of, now he's a business owner, and like he said, he's no longer selling, he's teaching his people how to sell, but he requires them to teach them back so he knows that they're doing. He helps people like us who don't have those systems baked out, the business owners that might have been around for 20 years with our company or 30. None of our agents are going to develop that. So some of us need, the reason I wanted you in front of these folks is because you can help them to manage that, to teach them by joining Insurance Sales Lab. The other thing too I wanted to impart is some of the people, and you'll see it in the chat, is that leads don't work. I mean, you mentioned it, which is great, because I'm okay with those people not doing anything for themselves, because people that, like you had said, people have the same feeling that whether it's Farmers, Allstate, or State Farm, and they don't do jack. But then Vlad's attitude, it's okay. And I'd gladly take and do 50,000 more a month or 100,000 more a month. And it would be great where other people at Farmers are going, you can't grow by anything a month.
Yeah.
But then you have Vlad bringing in $1 million. So I think that what I wanted to impart here is we need to plan in the environments that we're in. If we're just relying on going out and seeing some mortgage brokers or doing stuff, we're limiting ourselves to what we should be doing. And if you don't have the quote volume necessary, you've got to change. The nice thing I like about Vlad is he's got a system baked out that you can plug into, learn from, if you care enough, impart that into your business. Follow a system. It's not just about buying; it's about working things efficiently with follow up. And he's got that baked down. And so, if you want to change the environment that you're at, you got to do some radical changes that might be getting back into our working leads, but not just working effectively. And so that's really what I wanted to get out of this. And then for the agents that are in here that are going to be interested in asking questions about compliance and whatnot, I want you to work back with your district leader, then work back with your area director, and let's get these things in place for you if you wish to. One of the things I do want to plug is we have a couple of agents right now in Vlad's boot camp, which is going on right now. They've invested their time because they know they need to make a change, and you'd be surprised. One of the people that we have out in Vlad's boot camp right now has $6, $7, $8 million book of business. Knows they need to change, knows they need to do something. So if you're at a place where you're making $6 million book, or $8 million book, or $2 million book, you can't know that you can grow, well, then you're not going to. You got to change it. So really, what I want is introduction.
Yeah, can I add something?
That's what I want.
Joe, do you mind if I add something to what you just said,
Sure.
Joe? And I really appreciate what you're saying. I've worked with a lot of carriers. Country, now we're having more conversations. I've worked with farmers, me being a farmer's agent. Farmers Corporate, the CEO of Farmers was in my office right here just less than a year ago. And he saw our operation. He said, you know what, we need to get your systems in more agencies. And the president of the company also visited my office. And so many corporate people I talked to over the phone, and they all say the same thing. We need to make sure that more agents know about this process. But once it goes to legal, and legal hears, oh, scripting training, no, we don't want that. Carriers, it doesn't matter what carrier, what you're talking about. All carriers have a legal team that will say, we can't officially approve and endorse certain vendors. If agents are independent contractors, they can do whatever they want to do. But we as corporates, just to protect ourselves, we're not going to officially endorse any type of trading. So when I see agents say, well, why is it so-and-so carrier? Why is it Country? Or why is it Farmers? Why is State Farm not doing trainings? It's because their hands are tied. Carriers are not allowed to have corporate people do some of this. So that's why people like Joe, people like Chris Pacey, and others that I've started to work with here at Country, they're setting up these calls, getting you guys on these calls to introduce you to outsiders that are not part of the corporate world that can give you the training. I'm never going to be an approved likely vendor by the carriers because of the legal compliance team, because they get very concerned about each agent exactly what to say. But that's just my direct feedback to anybody who says, why is corporate not giving us training? So I think corporate does a great job of doing what they can, but their hands are tied. And I would highly encourage everybody who's on this call, if you want to change the trajectory of your agency and write more business, you have to change your mindset about the past. Whatever you did up until now, ignore that. You have to adopt a new way. And if you want to adopt a new way of doing business, then learn from people who are doing a lot more than what you're doing right now. And that's why Joe had us on this call to go over what's working for our agency, and we're passing it down to you guys. So I did post the link in the chat here for a video testimonial. I don't know if you're able to play it or you just want to share it with agents, but it's something that I posted for people to see what other agents say. It's like a 3-minute video, 2-minute video.
I'll try to grab that, Vlad, then I will send it out to agents as part of just a recap email, so that way they have that. Also, by the way, just as I close, I just want to say again, thanks, Vlad, for sharing a little bit about your agency, about Insurance Sales Lab, about your mindset, about your investment in your own team. And obviously, you've got an amazing business, and I appreciate your time coming and sharing. There's no compensation in this, just your time and sharing. Obviously, if people go to Share Sales Lab, you might get some benefit out of it, but I really appreciate it. And I'll kind of close this. Again, I already said a little bit of soapbox stuff, but just to kind of close it out a little bit. There was a statement by one of the agents in here I wanted to kind of reference, so bear with me just a second. Your Eagle says you have to take accountability for your business and your life one way or another. That's the truth, not easy, but true. I was going to say that it wouldn't matter if country put training out anyway. Unfortunately, the known thing is agents given free training, it really doesn't work, guys and gals. It doesn't work. I can give you training and that's the old man doing it. So I'm not interested in training people. I'm interested in the people that are willing to be trained. And I think that what that requires is your own investment. If you're interested in something like Vlad offers, then you'll do it. And your commitment be through the tuition you pay for the education you receive. And so that's what I'm interested in. We've led people to, I've trained for, and they're just not interested in me because it's my interest in you. It's when you get interested in yourself, you devote yourself to that. That's when things change. The other thing I'll mark here too, just to add on, is some people aren't aware of this, but with some of the work that I've done with some of my district leaders and with compliance, if you didn't know, you can buy leads from wherever you want. It's no longer handcuffed in that regard. That's from marketing. Now, that doesn't mean that the leads will be co-opted. By the way, Vlad, does Farmers pay for half of all your leads?
No, there is like some program where you can participate in some cost share, but it's not, we have to pay. We have to spend our own money.
Yeah, and most of my friends that are in other companies, they don't have cost share at all. And I have a friend at State Farm that you have to, if you sell a certain amount, they'll cover up to $300 or $400. So it's very minimal. But we do have co-op, which is great. But guys and gals, we need to change our mindset. If the first question out of your mouth is it co-opable, you're not the right person. Now, if you go out and find lead sent sources and vendors, you use them and you put them into a system and you have dramatic follow-up and you do well, bring them to me, bring them to the company, and we'll see about getting them into the co-op system. But other companies, they don't ask the question, is it co-opable? They just buy leads and they work them. And so,
vendors is better. You want to talk to more vendors. I cannot stress it. Now, if all of you guys go to Quote Wizard to buy leads, you're going to bid up against each other. You want to talk to all the different vendors and simply ask them this question of, and I'll share this with you guys as well. If you go to YouTube, type in Insurance Sales Lab. I posted a video in here called How to Work Internet Leads Successfully. Sorry, right over here. We break down how to find the different lead vendors and what questions to ask right here. How to work leads successfully. Make sure you guys go through that video and that will help you guys find the right leads.
Excellent. Hey, and by the way, just to come more, even though I just said it, I got to say it again because there's been a couple questions asked. You buy from any source, go out and find leads and buy in. Yes, you can. And we're under the impression that it has to be company approved. It's only for company approved for co-op. So do with that what you will. You don't buy any. If you find some new ones, great. Work leads. So that's what I was suggesting. If you find some good ones and you work them diligently, like I said, bring them to me, bring them to Carrie, and then we will work with marketing to see if we can get those into. By the way, I've already got a couple of potential lead vendors that are being worked on with marketing right now that might be being added to co-op. So because a very small group, one person has found us another lead source. So we need more of that stuff. And you guys need to act like business owners, buy, purchase, invest in your business and grow. So that's what I'm encouraged.
Yeah, and we still have a lot of people who are on this call. How many leads do you need to buy per day? Answer in the chat. How many leads do you need to buy per day for you to close one sale? How many leads do you need to close or buy per day? If you buy 20 in a day, and you feel like you're not calling every single one of the 20 every day, then buy fewer, buy less of them. And if you can only call 10 leads a day, because the 10 leads that you buy today, you have to call them again the next day. If they don't answer the first day, you have to call them the third day. So make sure you don't buy more leads than you need to, buy in appropriate amounts. And eventually, after a couple of weeks, it'll end up being 10 to 12 leads per producer per day is what you'll end up buying. 10 to 12. And from the people that you talk to, you want to close 25%. But of the total leads that you have, if you can close 5% of those, you're in the money. Again, you will talk to a lot of people in a row, all of them not interested, that your rate is too high. You still continue buying leads because you'll have 2-3 deals in a row that you'll close back to back to back. Then when you zoom out, look at it over the course of a month, you'll realize that, oh, this actually was profitable. And too often agents buy leads from one vendor and say, well, these leads were all bad numbers, they didn't work out. Well, yeah, you're going to have some of those leads, some vendors, but check out other vendors as well. That's why I'm a big proponent of having several vendors. And for those lucky people who are on this call, I will say one of my favorite vendors, Quote Wizard, is really good. Quote Wizard, because they allow you to ask for returns on the lead. So if you buy a lead for $10, you can go into their system, the dashboard, and ask for, I think, up to 15-20% of the leads to be returned. That reduces the cost overall. And you can buy people who are actually searching for home insurance. That's the highest quality lead. So Quote Wizard offers that. Smart Financial also has a good product. Everflow, those three are a great start for you guys to go to. Cool.
That's cool. Well, again, Vlad, thank you a lot for the call. I have anybody that's interested in hearing more from Vlad, you reach out to him directly to the insurance sales lab. And I think one of the most important things that you have beyond just purchasing and investing in it is having a system for follow-up. And so that's where Vlad comes in. What you say, how you say, when you say, how often, the repeat, how do you focus on lost opportunities? And that's where Vlad's going to help. So hopefully you guys will reach out. Vlad, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. You guys are awesome. Appreciate you guys. Peace.
All right.